If you're interested in catching carp like this absolute tank on a bomb and pellet, today's video I'm going to show you exactly how to target big lakes with big carp in them. Look at the size of that thing. If there's one style of fishing I can't get enough of, it's bomb fishing. I absolutely love a bit of bomb fishing, especially on venues just like this one here. Today we've come down to Larford Lakes, we're on the Specie Lake. It's a big open water, deep lake, and we're fishing for really big fish. There's nothing much better than this, and today the weather is blowing its absolute head off, and these are the days where the bomb and pellet really outscore everything else. But for some reason, bomb and pellet fishing gets a really bad rep of just a chucker and chancer method, and trust me, I've been doing a lot of this kind of fishing the last 2 or 3 years, and there are loads of little ways you can get an extra pull or two, especially when we're fishing for great big fish like today. Now, this place is a little bit special. You're really going to have to attack it because it's such a big lake. You need to draw those fish to you. So pinging 1 or 2 pellets just doesn't cut it. I'd be looking to feed in a match 8 to 10 pints of pellets. The kit, like I'm going to show you, everything's beefed up. I'm not using my normal favourite little end gauge rods. Today we're going for the Aventus rods, a bigger reel, big hooks, really strong line, big bombs. This kind of fishing takes no prisoners. Hopefully I'll show you how big some of the fishing you actually run to if you can get amongst those great big ones. So I'm going to quickly jump on my kit now. The box is in the water level's down a bit, but that doesn't matter, we're in the water. We'll get some rods set up, I'll show you the kit, the feeding, more importantly how to feed and where, hook bait choice and everything else that goes with bomb fishing. I really can't wait for this one. So like I touched on earlier on, we are fishing for big proper fish. There's been fish caught in matches on this place in excess of £30, and those big £20 units are commonplace in matches. People catch multiple 20-pounders in a single 5-hour match. So your kit really needs to sort of step up to that mark. So what I've gone for is a different kind of rods. I don't really use these a lot, if I'm 100% honest. I always tend to use your end gauge softer style rods. But for today, I got my 10-foot Aventus feeder. Plenty of beef in this. Nice fish play in action, but you can sort of lean into them if you need to, because when you get these big fish under your feet, with a light rod, all that happens is your rod is just hooped over and you just cannot get any leverage on them. So I've gone for a much pokier rod, bit of guts. This will help me chuck my bomb nice and accurate. As you can see, there's a nasty side wind today, and this is where the bomb really comes into play. I've stepped up a 4,000 reel. Normally I use 3,000s on my end gauges, so I've gone a 4,000 here, and I've got some 10-pound Pulse Pro line, really, really strong. You can even use, if you had some 12-pound, that would be fine. I know the nice thing about bomb fishing is the setup is just so simple. I've got no bells and whistles on this. All I've gone for an 1.5 ounce bomb today. It's quite deep here, you know, sort of 9 foot. So I want a nice heavy bomb. And what I also don't mind when I'm fishing a big open water lake is that bomb crashing in. It's amazing. Like sometimes you chuck in, even with a feeder, you chuck in, you think, God, that was a bad cast. Next you look around and your rod's gone straight. So there's something in crashing, you know, crashing feeders and bombs in. It's got its place. And I think big open water lakes where you need loads of attraction, that can really work well. So I've stepped up my bomb size, that's 1.5 ounces. And all I've got there, that's free running. I just love inline free running bombs. But what I've got, the bottom bit of my rig there is twizzled, and there's a little tiny knot you can just see there on my thumb. So what will happen, a carp will come along, pick my hook bait up, that bomb will slide, just slide up, hit that knot, pull the hook in, and then it can just slide away. So I really like that, and then I've just got a little quick change bead on there. So that is the setup. Let's quickly have a look at the different hook lengths we're going to use, because we're going to be using a couple of different baits, giving ourselves options. When we have a big build-up of pellets, we might need an odd standout bait. So let's quickly check out the hook baits. A really important part of bomb fishing is having a couple of different hook bait options, but at the same time, not too many where you sort of lose your way. So what I've gone for this session is I've been watching a lot of these underwater carp videos, and I had a little run of Willinghurst last year where I was fishing like a little red topper on my pelt, and that was really, really good. But I was fishing a little 6mm red pelt and an 8mm pelt in a band. But what I've gone for today, something a little bit different, like match fishing wise, is I've got a hard 8mm Carp pellet, but I've just put a little bit of a pink wafter on top. That's just on like your traditional kind of hair rig. Got a little red quick stop on there. Size 10 QM1, but the line is really strong. I've gone for 0.25 end gauge on this one, just because it's a little bit more supple to tie. So that's going to be one of our options. The next option is going to be your sort of standard bomb and pellet hook length. And I've messed around a little bit today. I've tied a few up with fluorocarbon and I've tied a few up with mono, so that's just Like standard, I'll just put a pellet on there just to show you how it sits. What I always want that pellet right down towards the point of the hook, making the hook point heavy so it turns over and catches hold in the lip. So that's the presentation we've gone for on that one. If I can just stop him swinging, there he is, look. 0.25 pure fluorocarbon, a 10 QM1, a little bit of silicone, and then the bait band. So that's another option we've got. And then finally, something I've been messing about with, and I've gone big guns on this. I've got some 0.30 fluorocarbon. I've got a size 8 XS-eyed hook. And as you can see, I've just got a double pellet mounted on there. I've got a long old hair, 2 hard pellets. Now that can be a real good standout bait. If there's a lot of fish in my peg and I can't get a pickup, something like that will pick them up. So that's the couple of options. We've got 3 different options. And what I can also do as well, if I want to, I can put a wafter, a big wafter, like a 10mm wafter, bright hook bait, standout hook bait. If towards the end of the session where I fed loads and loads of pellets, I need a standout. So that's the hook bait options. All really strong gear, pretty easy to tie, which is really, really nice. So they're our little options. Next, let's have a look where we're going to fish. As with any kind of fishing, accurate feeding is an absolute key, and bomb fishing is no exception. If anything, this is probably where you want your feeding as tight as you can possibly get it. So for that reason, don't turn up at your peg and think, I'm going to fish pellets at 35 metres. Like today, it's going to get up 40 odd mile an hour gusts, and the biggest thing is grouping my pellets really tightly. So I don't care whether that's 16, 17 metres or 30 metres. So what I'll do before the start of my session, or as soon as the match starts, all I'm going to do, I'm going to get a few pellets, put them in my pouch. Have your far bank marker on the far side there. Just on the far side, there's an empty peg. There's nobody sat on that, so that's my marker. I'd say they're called all in a match now. First thing I'd want to do is get my eye on where my pellets are going to go. So I'm not going to pull the elastic back as far as I can. I want to make sure every time I feed, I know I can get those pellets in the same place, whether it's just a nice light breeze like now, or when it picks up and it's 40 mile an hour. So all I'll do, just, I'm not trying to like hit the moon, but they have all gone in one lovely pile. So I'm probably looking at that thinking, today I'm going to be fishing maybe 20 metres on the bomb, which is plenty far enough out. I wouldn't even mind if I had to fish 15 or 16 metres, but a good catapult. I've got a real strong elastic on there. A hard plastic pouch really helps you group your pellets really tightly. This is an incredible. And these are the kind of days where a big, strong catapult like this will come into play. So like, as you can see there, I'm just lobbing them out. They're all grouping absolutely perfectly. No matter what the wind's going to do, I know I can hit that mark every single time. Right, there's one little thing left that I like to do just to try and get me an odd extra bite. Now, glugging like PVA and feeders is really good, but glugging hook baits is also amazing. So what I've got some smart liquid. Now I've gone for this because it's really thick and it really sticks to your pellets. Even if you just soak one pellet, it'll like cling to it. So what I've got a little pot. I'll just put a good blob in there, like that. But what I'll have, whilst I'm fishing, I'll have 2 or 3 hook baits just sat in there. So I'll put my little hook bait in the middle of it, like cover it over. So I'll have 2 or 3 hook baits. I'll have like my double pellet, my single pellet, my toppers and all that in there. But when you pull it out, this stuff really does stick to your hook bait and will stick even when it hits the water. It's just not going to all come off on impact. It will go down stuck to the pellet. Now it's just like little bits and pieces like that can get you an extra couple of pulls and stand out when everybody's doing the same kind of thing around you. If you've got something like that up your sleeve, just something a bit different to everybody else, can really get you those extra couple of fish. So we'll have a little go with that today. I know this works, I've done it in the past, but look how that sticks on there. It's like glue. And I just think that's an amazing little edge that nobody else is going to have around you. So have your own little, use what you're confident in. I'm confident in Smart Liquid, mostly because of the consistency of it and how it sticks to everything, and it doesn't just hit the water and completely come off. It like leaches off your hook bait. So I have a couple of them. Obviously, the longer they're in there soaking, the better it's going to be. So before you start your session, put 2 or 3 hook baits in there, have them soaking up ready, and then you could just change them as you're fishing. Really good little tip, that one. Right, so we are ready to begin. Now, one thing to bear in mind with bomb fishing is it's not really a method like you start on. This is a method that scores best after it's been built up for a little while. So like, an hour of feeding, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours of feeding. So what you've got to bear in mind is don't start on it. Start on something maybe a method down the middle or a pole short where you can just build this line up, keep building it up, keep building it up, gather some fish there, then when you go on it you should start catching a few. So it might take us a little while to catch one. I have fed a couple of times as we've been setting up. So I'm going to start off with just a standard hook bait. I'm just going to go like Old Faithful, just a single pellet in a band. Just to see what happens on that, and then we can start tinkering around with hook baits, where we chuck in our peg. You know, I've got some big dumbbell wafters there, I've got a couple of red pellets, but let's just start with a nice big old Carp's pellet in a band. Like the wind is really kicking up now, and this is like, if you was on here in a match, like long pole would be out of the question. Not just because you couldn't hold it, but I know it would be tramming through when you just wouldn't get presentation. So I'll just put that there for a minute. Now the first thing I want to do before I chuck in, accuracy is key. So I'm going to feed my pellets in line with my far bank marker. One lot, two lots. I'm just going to keep my eye on where they've gone in. And I just want to plop this bomb right down the middle there. And that's perfect. So it's not a long chuck, because I want to be able to feed my pellets properly. That's the biggest part about bomb fishing. So I'm just going to tighten up, rod on the rest. Now the other key thing, the same as any kind of feeder fishing, is timing bites. Now you will find a pattern. It always seems to be the case. It happens too much to be coincidence. Sometimes bites are like within 90 seconds, a minute. Sometimes bites are 7 or 8 minutes. That's something you're going to work out as you're fishing. So I fed my initial feed there now. I'm not going to just keep reining it in to start. What I want to do is feed like 2 lots of pellets every sort of 3 or 4 minutes just to start with. And then we'll sort of play from there. Sometimes you can just keep hammering them in. Barston's a good example for that, where you can just keep blasting pellets in over the top of your bomb. But today I'm a little bit unsure how we're going to fish. There's a lot of people on the lake today. There's actually 2 matches on here. And there's carp angles up the top end, so there's a lot of pressure on. But we've got a little bit of room here. We're at the windward ends. I'm hoping we're going to catch a few. So it's a case now, just settling in, keeping your eye out for signs, indications, keeping your bait regular, keeping an eye on your bite times. I'm probably going to leave this in to start with 5 minutes. I'm going to give it 5-minute chucks to start. If we don't get any bites within 5 minutes, I'll leave it longer. But at the same time, if all my bites are 2 minutes, I'm not going to leave it in there for 5. I'm going to leave it in there for like 3.5, 4. So let's bed in, see if we can catch 1 or 2. And we'll catch up, hopefully, when that tib absolutely hammers round and we get into one of those big Larford specimen monsters. Okay, so we've had 2 or 3 chucks in now, sort of 6-minute chucks. We haven't had a pickup, but one thing is really clear, there's fish on us. I'm getting loads of indications on the tip, and I've even seen 2 top in our feed. So obviously that single pellet isn't cutting it. I'm going to change hook baits now. I'm going to put a little pink topper on, those ones I showed you earlier on. So let's wind that back in. I'll have a chuck with that topper just to see if that little bit of colour will get us a pull, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to go with one of our glug pellets, I think. So I'll put that in that little bowl. So that's our next protocol. Little pink topper. So that's what we're going to chuck in with now. So what I'll do before I chuck in, just to make sure accuracy is absolutely bang on, feed some pellets twice. Feeding is nice and accurate there. And then just keep my eye on where they went in, and then straight in the middle of them. We'll go straight in the middle to start. I had a massive jag in on the drop, so that's gone over a fish's back, that one. So they're in the pellets, which is a really good sign. We'll just tighten up on that. Loads and loads of indications, slow pulls, like slow liners, and then an odd little jag, and seeing there was 2 fish top on us. So this is all good stuff. There's some fish in the area. It's just a case of building on this now, keeping that bait constant, keeping our loose feeding going in nice and accurate, and eventually something will happen. One will pick it up, then you'll have a nice run, you'll catch a few. I find with bomb fishing, it's always catching that first one When you get your first one, you normally catch quite a few on it then. It's a nice rough old day, overcast, a little drop of rain in the air. These are perfect days for fishing the bomb. That wind is nice and warm, so I don't see why we won't catch a few, and there's fish on us, so we've just got to work it out from here now. So let's settle into this cast. I'll give this another like 6-minute chuck again now, and then we'll work from there then. Until we get our first bite, it's hard to work out how long you need to leave it in there. But hopefully it won't be too long before we get dragged in, and then we can really start turning the screw on them. There we go. We're in. Now that was 90 seconds that had been in there with that change of hook bait. I don't know if that's a carp, is it? Yeah, it'll be a little carp that. There's a few smaller ones in. But that's just a mint sign of just like a single hook bait change has got us a pull within. That hadn't been in there 90 seconds, I don't think. After we'd had 2 or 3 like 6-minute chucks, not a sign. Chuck that little topper in, and we've got one instantly. Now that is a pretty small fish for Larford standards, but it's a start, and that's the main thing. Oh yeah, that is small for Larford. So try and get this one in. That is cool. That's tiny for Larford. After all I was saying about great big carp, that's probably the smallest carp I've ever seen on this venue. That is. But look at the hook hold. Perfect, right in the middle of the bottom lip. But that topper definitely done the business. So let's slip him back. And just do exactly the same. Hook bait still on there, absolutely perfect. All I'll do is just slide that little bit of silicone down. I can't believe how small that fish was. Just plop that in. And all you're doing with bomb fishing is just keeping everything the same. 2 lots of pellets. That feeding is so nice for that catapult. Straight in the middle. So we're set. Now that was a 2-minute bite, so we'll keep an eye now if we get another bite what time that was on, because maybe we don't need to leave it in there for 6 minutes. Maybe like frequent casts, sort of 3.5, 4 minutes is the way to catch them. But we'll work that out as we go. You're not going to work it all out in the first part of your session. So we've had another 2 chucks now on this pink topper, and even though I've had an odd liner, it wasn't as many liners as I was having previously. And as you can probably tell, I've got every duck and seagull in Bewdley in front of me now. Look at these seagulls, look, it's just absolute carnage here. Now the problem I got is I don't really know how much bait's going in, so what I'm doing, I'm just feeding it. Instead of feeding it twice, I'm just feeding it 3 or 4 times, because look at it. I'm sure a few of them are getting down, but it's not ideal because you just don't know, obviously, how much is getting to those fish. So I'm going to wind this in. Now, there's obviously an odd fish still in the area because I'm having an odd liner still. So what I'm going to try next, I'm going to go with one of our glugged hook baits, because I feel like there's fish there and we're not getting picked up. So the next protocol is one of them. And you'll have a nice little slick come off this smart liquid. So just before I chuck it in again, just to get my eye in, pretty much know where I am, but you just flick a few in there. Look at them ducks and birds there, look. So that's in. Look, they're even diving for that. So let's tighten up on that. See, there was a liner there then, straight away, as I was tightening up, it just sort of, must have been over one's back again. So they're there, they're definitely there. And what I want to make sure I'm going to do is now, is once that's in, I'll just get a couple of hook bits soaking, because if this goes off, I'm going to want a couple on the go. Just put them in there. And I'll get another hook length out. So if I've got 2 or 3 on the go soaking, I know, if I catch one on quickly on a chuck, you can soon go through them if you have a couple of quick pulls. So I have a couple on the go there. I'll rebait this single hook bait up, because sometimes you try all this fancy stuff and a lot of the time the best hook bait is just whatever you're feeding, just a single pellet. So I've got that there as well. I've got 2 of them there ready to go. Just timing these casts again. So there's fish round us. It's just a case of keeping at it, because I'm sure eventually our hard work's going to pay off. I'm going to catch a few. So as you can tell by the conditions, they're probably worsening a little bit now, and that's where a big Carp style pellet like these really come into play on days like this. Big heavy pellets are a must on these big windy days like this. You want to make sure you're hitting your mark really accurately. And what's nice with these pellets, because they're quite dense, they're big, these are 8mm, but they're bigger than 8mm if you look at them. Just let you, even though that's blowing its absolute head off there, they all went in on an area the size of my side tree. Now, if you can keep your grouping your pellets like that, you're going to have an odd time where you have a bad feed. I've had it today where the wind sort of caught me and blown them off, but if you can just keep them in that same kind of area as often as possible, you really do build up a nice swim then. And that's when you get those really quick bites. The tighter you can gather those pellets, the more fish you get in that little area, the quicker your bites are. So it's all little bits and pieces, like your feeding, what you're chucking your bomb, your hook baits. They all add up to catching more fish. There we go. There's a fish. And I was just, look at that, kicking up over my side tray there. I was literally just tying up, well, not tying up, I was going to put a big old pink wafter on a hook length for my next chuck in, because I've been getting signs but no pickups. I feel like I've got fish on me, but they are not easy to catch. But that was a real funny bite, just a quick little rattle. And that's often the case with them big ones. They don't rip the rod off the rest. It's like they pick it up and they know something's not right. So this feels like a good fish. Feels like a proper Larford unit, this. But that is encouraging. Now that fish again was on that smart liquid hook bait. 8mm pellet. Oh, there you are. Nice fish. Not one of the absolute juggernauts that are in here, but it's going in the right direction. I feel like that rod with just a bit more guts in it is a bit nicer on you, I've got to be honest. Definitely different rods have got their places for different kinds of fishing. I love those end gauges, but some of the fish in here are so big, you do want a bit of backbone. There he is, though. And they fight like absolute mad in here. He's hooked right in the middle of the bottom lip again, which is perfect. Oh, it is seriously kicking up now. But these are the conditions where that bomb will there's no way you're going to fish a pole in this, so even short, I think it would just be ripping too much to be able to fish it. So this is where the bomb really comes into its own. And this one is pulling my arm off at the minute. God, they don't have to hang on. And these are the worst size ones for fighting. It's like those 8-pounders. Like those great big units are just slow, ponderous fish, but these like 8-pound fish are just absolutely full of beans. Come on. There he is. An absolute Larford cracker. Oh yeah, good 8-pound that one. Maybe a tickle more. There's a hookbait, look, still on. And there we go. Not one of the absolute units that Larford holds, but a lovely fish nonetheless. So I'm just slipping back for there. I'm going to stick on that hookbait now, just because we've caught that fish. So what I want to do now, because I haven't fed for a little while, feed those pellets, making sure I'm not trying to fire them too far. I just want them, even though that it's kicking up so bad, really want to be accurate with my feeding. Flick them in. And it's just a case of unclipping this one. I've got another one there glugged, ready to go. And again, even before I chuck this in, I'm going to feed it again. Just get my eye in. And right on that seagull, I want to be putting that bomb. There we are, perfect. But that was like a 4-minute bite there, so the bites are relatively quick. But finally I feel like we're starting to get somewhere now. That one fish on a pink topper just on its own, but I've had 2 pulls now on that smart liquid. So I set that. Again, I want to feed, so I'm going to feed 2 lots of pellets twice. That's perfect, that is. And now, as that old song goes, we sit and wait. Oh, we're off again. Oh, yes. Very next chuck on that same hookbait again. Bites are so mad, they're so like jagged. I think that's that heavy bomb, and like I said, where that bomb is just hitting that knot, they do not like that up them. And that's another sort of 3-minute bite, just over 3 minutes, I'd say. Feels a good fish again, that. But all, like I said earlier on, all of a sudden, when you catch one, you feel like you're always going to get another run. And that's the thing with bomb fishing. It's a funny old thing because, like, I've caught some big weights on, like Barston on a bomb and that, and you seem to catch like 4 or 5 as quick as you can chuck it in, and then you'll have them like periods then you just cannot catch one, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to come off this, and then you think that it flies off the rest, and then you have another good run. That feels like a good fish, that does. Brilliant fishing when you get on some fish, especially on these big open water lakes like this. It's hard to beat this. Like, this is a very unique lake, this Bessie Lake at Larford, because it's big, it's deep, and there's big fish in here, but not just an odd one. There's a hell of a lot of like 20-pound plus fish in here, and that feels like one of the big uns. That's a good fish, that is. And this is where you want, like, to be really confident in your kit you're using. You don't want to hook them here with like light reel line and a little hook and thinking, oh my god, what's going to happen here? When you pick up into one, you want to be thinking, right, he's coming in no matter what happens. And you will lose an odd one, it always happens, but if you stack the odds in your favour, because some days on here you're not looking for a lot of bites. Like the Golden Reel final last year, Zach won it. I'm not sure what he had. He had 120 pound. One of his fish went 23 pounds. So you're not looking for loads and loads of fish on this lake. Oh, no, that's what we come to Larford for. Look at that thing. Oh, boys back. Look at the size of that thing. That's 20 pound, that is. That's got to be 20 pound. Oh, welcome to Larford, eh? What a place this is. How about that then? Look at the size of that. That is an absolute Larford creature on the bomb and pellet. I told you they're big in here. And that's the proof of the pudding, look. Oh, let's gently put him back. Oh, that pulled my arm off. There he is, look. Oh, that's a bit of fishing in there. What an absolute treat that was. So as this, I've had 2 fish and 2 pulls in now on that. Be a fool to come off of this. So whilst I'm getting a few pickups, I'm just going to keep going on that. There's something in that smart liquid. You don't half catch some fish. And you know, when we fed a lot of pellets there now, as the day's getting on, and you can imagine there's a fair old build up of bait on the bottom, so you need something just to get one's attention. And if there was millions and millions of fish there, it's not so much of a problem, but I don't really know what sort of numbers of fish we got in our peg. So let's just... bait I'm trying to flick over then. Not good. Let's just put that in there. That's nice. So we'll carry on as we are for now, because we've just had 2 and 2 chucks, so I'll just keep the feeding the same. I have upped the feed since we started. We're definitely feeding a bit more, but it's getting a bit of a response now, and that's what these big lakes are like. You know, you've got to attack them. It might take time for fish to come into your peg, but when you get arrivals, you have like real good runs. And as you've seen from the last 2, they're big as well when they come. So I'll feed this again. 2 lots of pellets. And if we keep getting liners and we don't get picked up in the next chuck or 2, I'm going to give them a high-vis hook bait. See if that'll pick us out the fish. So again, it's a case of setting the timer. 5-minute chucks is going to be from now, because all the bites have been 2 to 4 minutes. So I'll give them 5-minute chucks and then we'll go from there. But an absolutely fantastic last little period there. 2 fish and 2 chucks, 2 big uns. That's what we love on this place. So as I'm waiting for a bite now, it's not just a case of like sitting on my hands or playing about on my phone. Because of the way I'm mounting, like with these toppers, I need to drill my pellets out. So I've got a little quarter drill there. This is a nice one, quite sharp on the end, so it does get through these pellets. So whilst I'm keeping an eye on that tip, all the time I'm like rigging up different hook lengths, feeding. You know, I'm on the go. I'm, you know, it fishes itself, so you don't, you know, have to worry about hitting the bites. The fish will be on when they pick it up. So I just want to get a couple of fresh pellets done. So there you are. Whizzed him through there. Just run it up and down, take the loose stuff out the middle. So I'll just bore out 2 or 3 pellets quickly, and then I can rig them up with toppers then. I've got my little box of pink wafters there. What I'm doing, I'm just cutting the dome top off of them with the Stanley blade, and then I'll just show you then of just hair rigging them on. But I think the combination of the pellet, oh, there we go, again, look. See, and that's what it's like when they come on the bomb. When they come on it just absolutely goes mental. But I think we've got like a perfect combination now. You know, a nice pellet, that pink topper on it, and then soaking in that smart liquid. I just think that's an absolutely winning combination. Keeping the feed going in, like really regular with that feed. Keeping it really accurate. That's the, you know, the big, I keep banging on about that all the time, but like you wouldn't sort of fish your pole rig and feed 4 meters away from it, so it's exactly the same on the bomb. Ooh, he's banging his head there. Slightly smaller one, I think. but just as angry. Yeah, nice fish, look. There we go. Oh, he is super lively, that one. But again, that hook bait is just taking him apart now. What's happened here? The handle handle's stuck behind me. That's a nice fish, that is. Some cracking fish in this place. Whoa, whoa, look at him, look. There we go, we'll just drop him straight back. Another one, probably getting near an 8 pound. And that's why you need those couple of hook bits soaking, because when you have a couple of quick bites, you don't half go through them, and then before you know it, you've got nothing soaked. Let's just pick one out. So again, I'll just feed my spot. You know, it's just rinse and repeat now. Once you're catching like this, just keep everything pretty much the same. Got a duck in my peg as my marker where those pellets are gone in. There we go. So what I'll do now, I've still got my topper on that hook length, so I'll just tighten up on this, check the time. That was a 4-minute bite, that one there again. I don't want that tip bent right round too much. There we go. So I've got a little red stop on there. Put him in my mouth. Take the little topper off. Put the topper on my needle first. So he's on there like that. Thread my pellet on. Hook my little hook on there, slide them both on together. And now for the fiddly bit, put in this little stop back on. That wasn't that bad, was it, that time? Pull my little piece of silicone down. And that's what we're left with. And that's going straight in that smart liquid. So that's 3 and 3 chucks now. So like I said, take a bit of time to build it up, but when they turn up on you, you can catch them really quick. Oh, it is absolutely rigid there now. That was a funny old bite. I just went round, just stopped there. I wasn't even sure whether I should pick up on it. But pick up on it I did, and we're in again. Incredible bit of fishing now. And that's why you've got to keep that bait going in, like keep that area yourself. Like I counted it on, there's 27 match anglers on here today fishing a match. And yes, I know we've got a bit of room, we're on an end. But I feel like I'm the only one reining in those pellets. And this is the reward, like when they turn up on you, you can get a big pack of carp turn up and it's just absolutely carnage. Well, as we've seen here now, that was a 2-minute bite, that one. Mega bit of fishing. I absolutely love bomb. Oh God, that's a good fish again. Absolutely love a bit of bomb fishing. Go on, boy. Oh, have some of that. That's a big fish again, that is. Whoa. That's a big old unit. Look at this. Look at this thing here. Look. 12 pound plus. Where's he hooked? Whoa, 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 whoa. Silly billies. Don't think I should risk trying to pick this one up. Oh, those QM1s, I tell you what. There isn't many better hair rigging hooks than the QM1. There we go. Do we dare hold him up? No, I'm not even going to risk it, but there you are. You can see that. Big old bruiser, big common again. And there he goes. What a bit of fishing this is turning into now. And you can see like it's windy as hell, but I'm not giving it all this business and trying to, you know, fire pellets to the moon. If anything, I brought them back a little bit closer to me since this wind has got up, just to make accuracy that bit better. Let's stick that new hook bait on. Just to get my eye in, make sure I'm in amongst the pellets, because those fish are obviously on the pellets at the minute. There we are. So as I'm waiting for that now, all I'm going to do, re-rig up that last hook bait, make sure I got a couple soak in, and keep one eye on that tip. Job's a good one. Oh, look at this. Didn't even get it on hardly on the rest that time. Oh, isn't it mad? Like when they turn up, it's just absolutely crazy. Right, we've had 2 chucks now with not a fish, so I'm thinking now is the time to have a chuck with that big wafter hook bait. Like a proper standout in amongst all those pellets. And like that's what kind of bomb fishing is. It's you know, it's not just just chuck it out there and hope you just get dragged in. You've got to keep changing stuff. You know, going in the mindset of like each cast is going to be a fish. So I'm going to feed my 2 lots of pellets. Look at them. Got some serious birds on us now. So flick them in. And then I've just got a single bright standout hook bait now. Let's see if that will get a fish's attention. So not even a sign on that pink wafter, which I'm surprised about, to be honest. I thought that would have got us a quick bite. So just out of curiosity, let's put one of our glugged hook baits back on. That's a nice one there. He's been sitting in there now for 10 minutes or so. Now I know exactly where I need to chuck this because I've got a million birds there, so I'll just flop him in. Let him go down. Now let's see if this bait will just get us a pull again. Really surprised that like standout hook bait didn't get us a bite. So now that's fishing. We'll feed it twice just as that wind has eased off, just a touch. Oh, that's better. Feed that lovely. There we go. Set the timer, 5 minutes. Well, let's see if this hook bait can get us another quick bite. There we go. Now that could be a new under hook bait because every time I've chucked that in, we've caught fish on it. And that feels like another good fish. So I hope you've enjoyed that video because I have absolutely loved fishing at Larford today. Just such a special venue this is. This Specie Lake is absolutely unreal, to be honest. There's not many places where you can fish like this. But I think, you know, it's a very simple method, but when it's done right, you can really score well. Like, keep feeding those pellets. I know I've banged on about it all day. Accuracy of feeding, keep them in as tight as air as you can. Don't go too far where you can't group them. Change your hook baits around. Have a little play around because on the day you'll find something that'll outscore everything else. And today, that glugged hook bait, well, I'm going to go as far as to say is that's a game changer for us today. And there we are. That's a good fish that is again. Look, absolute Larford cracker. So we'll try and slip this one in the pan, and I'll catch up with you next time on another fishing video. Haha! Yes!